Good evening. I'm Bob Schwartz.
And I'm Thomas Goree, and we're with GLN, Gay Liberation Network.
This is our monthly program. I want to mention right at the top that the Illinois gender advocates, our friends and comrades in the Illinois gender advocates, will do their program at 7 p.m. this evening. So stay tuned for their show. Tonight we're going to be talking about the recently completed Gay Pride Parade, which was held in Chicago in the Lakeview neighborhood on June 29th, Sunday afternoon. And one of the things that we did, and we'll hope to get a graphic of this up here at some point during the show, was to confront a group of anti-gay bigots who are present in the parade, on the parade route every year. Some people have told us, well, why don't you just ignore them? Well, there are three reasons I want to mention tonight why we in Gay Liberation Network do not ignore these anti-gay bigots. One of their signs, it is useful to remember, as I mentioned our reasons for not ignoring them, says, "The wages of sin is death." Now, in July of 2007, Satinder Singh, a young Fiji Islander, was murdered by Christian evangelicals in Sacramento, California. His crime was being gay. In February of 2008, 15-year-old Lawrence King, also a Californian, was killed by a classmate. His crime was being gay. On July 7th of this year, just a few days ago, 4 thugs in Queens, New York City, attacked a transgender woman and the director of the shelter in which she was staying. They shouted anti-gay and anti-trans epithets at this woman and at the director of the center. So those are three reasons why we don't ignore the anti-gay bigots with their hateful message. Some people take it as a license to kill, and we're not going to ignore people with that kind of message. Now, we're going to have 2 guests tonight, and Thomas is the first guest, and I'd like to ask him for his responses. This is a call-in show, but please hold your calls for a few minutes because we want to get into the program. So what were some of your impressions of the event, Thomas?
Well, I've been going to the Pride Parade since I was 15 with Center on Halstead, and then I came and became part of GLN, and I've been with your contingent ever since. And what happened at the Pride Parade was the best thing to me that has ever happened. I mean, that I've ever saw, when we had the big banner and we covered up those hateful signs by the bigots. I thought that was to me the coolest thing that ever was. And
yeah, we're looking at some pictures now that were taken by our expert photographers of our contingent at the Pride Parade. And we'll get to the bigots and our banner with which we covered them in just a few shots. There are some of the bigot signs now. The wages of sin is death.
Yeah, I just think that it puts those bigots at the end of the parade would just put an ugly blemish on what is otherwise a very good day and a sign of our pride, and it just puts an ugly blemish on it. And there's the sign there
it
where
is.
We all were in the rain, we're getting rained on, and we covered up the sign of those hateful fascist bigots. And that was the most proudest moment I've ever been of Pride Day and of the Pride Parade and of GLN.
Why do you think it's important to confront the bigots? Because I'm sure you've heard the same thing that
Yeah.
I've heard, that we should just ignore them.
Yeah. When I was with Senator on Halstead, they used to, and we used to ride on their floor. They used to say the same. Just ignore them or forget it. But hate crimes begin with hate speech. People say they have these horrible signs. They say these horrible things, and people it may not be them, but other people could take it just one step further. Anita Bryant, when she was saying her rhetoric back in the 70s, she said horrible, terrible, mean things, and that caused a rise in anti-gay violence.
Right.
When AIDS epidemic started in the early 80s, people were coming out. They were ignorant and knew nothing of the disease and nothing of the effects of it, and it was considered a gay male disease. There was a peak in gay violence because of the anti-gay rhetoric, anti-AIDS rhetoric. In the early 90s, when the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" debate was starting, when Bill Clinton first got into office, and "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" was starting. It was a rise in anti-gay violence because it was gay speech that was the forefront of all that, and that anti-gay speech was also the precursor to what happened to Matthew Shepard, in my opinion.
Right.
So these bigots with their signs and their hate speech is, I think, is the precursor to anti-gay violence or hate across the board, because people who are who use racist rhetoric,
Right.
they can also lead to racist attacks. Sexist rhetoric can lead to sexism and misogyny. So
Some years ago, maybe 15 years ago now, a gay man in California made a film that was called License to Kill.
yes, I saw that.
And if people out there haven't seen this film, it's one that you could pick up at a video rental place. License to Kill. In the show, a number of persons who were in prison for killing gay men were interviewed, and almost every one of them cited religious sanction, a religious reason for lashing out with deadly violence against gay people. Comments such as, well, God's against it, so I was just doing his will. That's the kind of thing that we have in mind, the kind of consequence that we had in mind when we raised the banner to block out the bigots.
You look at and then you look at what's that, Reverend Phelps, him and his little band of hate mongers. They go and protest soldiers' funerals who came back from Iraq. They protest them, and they protest different people's people who are gay or feel that to get their message across with signs saying this is because of the United States accepts queers and faggots burn in hell and all such hatred as that.
Right, right. Yeah, there's more than one group of these right-wing bigots, these Christian fascists, as author Chris Hedges referred to them, and they're small and they're scattered, but under the right social crisis, the right conditions, they could become a much greater overt threat than they are today.